how can we grow our business? Why is it such a challenge in so many ways? So Marla Press is joining us. Marla, thanks for coming by. And why is it so difficult to grow to grow a business, to be successful in business? It's a process, isn't it?
It is a process. First of all, thank you for having me today. I'm excited to talk with you and your audience. This is amazing. And yeah, a lot of people are struggling out there, right? And part of the reason is because we get in our own way. So that's part of the reason. Another part is they say the coaching business and even entrepreneurial business has grown 800% just since COVID, just in the last few
Right.
years. And so almost every field is a crowded field.
Everything is not a blue ocean strategy. So you really, in a lot of ways, and I tell this to all my clients all the time as well, is did you really test this to market? Did you really see that there are truly people that want your product and service and are really dying for it and want it? Once you know that, you can have much more success. If you don't have where you're going, you don't know really the direction. If you were speaking to somebody about your business or anything, you're going to flounder. You can't grow. It's ultimately at the end of the day, you take off once you know you have something that's a lot of people want and need. If they don't, they're not going to buy it.
Right, because a lot of coaches and entrepreneurs become that because they have a message, they have a purpose, they want to, teach everybody about what was important to them. Whereas we have to look at what does our audience need? What does our audience want? What's going to help them? And how can we approach it so that they see it is about them?
It's totally about them.
Yeah.
And what am I going to provide? What is going to be that ROI for my client? How am I going to give them what they need? So kind of tell us, how can you grow, especially in this environment?
Yeah. The best way to grow is through speaking.
Right.
So that's part of why I became a speaking coach is because, well, first of all, because we talked about 800% growth, there's a lot of people that need to promote themselves and they're just not good at it. They
No.
have a message, but they don't know how to promote themselves. In fact, I've even worked with teachers or project managers and all kinds of people in corporate, and they are good at presenting, but they're
Right.
not so good at promoting themselves and getting their message across.
And to give something to the ideal audience that they truly want and need and give them so they'll take a call to action. I agree with you wholeheartedly. When I used to be on Clubhouse on a regular basis as I guess a OG in Clubhouse, I would get a lot of business. Wasn't always the best clients, but when I spoke on stage in front of all those people as a podcast leading authority of 200 to 300 people in the audience, I would get leads every day. It was not a problem. It was very, very easy. The hardest part now, because it's so oversaturated, is find the right place to speak. I'm a big proponent of podcasts. Guests on my podcast have become 95% of my clients. So I know exactly the platform by creating a podcast. But ultimately, I am looking to maybe go on more stages, especially looking at if I can get in front of the ideal customers as my business is changing a little bit, kind of pivoting with AI, with all the changes that are happening,
Yeah.
what people want and need. Because we were at a point before where certain services or products in marketing work perfectly. Well, now they're obsolete. They don't matter. You got to constantly evolve. But getting in front of people and speaking to them, that also leads to questions. And when you agree, being a speaker and speaking on stage, you get those questions. So you know what your ideal customers truly want. And that helps as well in your pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to listen to your audience. And I think, you brought up a great point is where do you speak and how do you find those speaking places that are right for you and where your audience is? Yeah, podcasting is great, but there's so many stages out there. People
Um,
don't realize there's like 7,000
oh, no, no
events
doubt.
a day and
Yeah.
there's so many places you can go to, but you have to, that's why you need a coach because there's a lot of pieces to this, right? It's where do you find the speaking gigs? How do you speak? What about your content? What about your delivery? How do you then follow up with people
Right.
afterwards? How do you bring people in? There's so many pieces to this.
Exactly. And that's why I found mine that works the most ultimately. And what are your thoughts on this? You think you should go multiple different avenues, not just one avenue then to try to for example, a lot my lead magnets I'll get on my show. but ultimately I haven't gotten the opportunity. I guess I'm going to set this on my calendar before the end of 2024 to start to speak on networking stages or going to networking events. I think that's the new type of a thing, where you have to really kind of and ask, say, I volunteer to speak, right? It's not always about getting paid to speak. It's about speaking to the right audience could bring the most money for you and the most opportunity leads.
Yeah, I tell my clients, it's don't even try and get paid speaking gigs. If you get them, great, but that's not where you're going to make the most money. You make the most money by offering from stage. And that's going to, people think, oh, I just want to get paid to speak, especially beginner speakers. But unless you're a politician, you're a celebrity of some sort, you're probably not going to get paid a lot to speak. You might get paid
Right.
something. But yeah, you want to find those stages where you can have a big enough audience and the right audience where you can give them an offer. But then it's how do you craft that offer so that it's irresistible, so that it's really enticing and exciting for your
Right.
audience?
You got to give them the best offer possible, stacking that offer and making it so, or at least the next phase of from lead to the next phase in the on the funnel. And that's what speaking can take in a much faster, quicker process because people hear you on stage say, I want to hire you. And
Yeah. And
that's as simple as that. If you come in prepared, know your stuff, and you give them something that they can't refuse, they're going to contact you.
yeah, and it's a lot about selling yourself. And that's where a lot of speakers fall short is they want to sell their information and then they're either boring or they're rote or they're, robotic and it doesn't go over very well. So
No.
how can you really be authentic and yet entertaining and yet connect to your audience and bring them in?
And find those pain points. Find exactly what,
Yes.
and I think the hardest part talking to everyone is finding their ideal customers, finding who their avatar client is, or even a broad range, but at least speak to people that would potentially buy your product or service. That's what you teach. And you also, but if you don't have a good delivery, and this is part of you as a speaking coach, and you really don't deliver the right information, you bore people, forget it. Nothing's going to happen.
Absolutely. And you brought up another great point is, do you speak on many different kinds of stages or do you just, follow one? You got to speak on a lot of different stages. Now, initially, if you're starting out or you're in the earlier stages, I'd say, no pun intended with stages there. I would say, go ahead and pick what you're best at. So some people are better on camera and they get on a big stage and they freak out. Other people are great in person on stage because they're used to it. It seems more natural and they're online and they freak out.
Right.
So, what do you do best? Start there and then expand from there.
So how in this expansion, give me like quick 4 different places to speak. That's not ones we mentioned, not podcasting, not like social audio, a networking, like some really specific things that people can go out and speak today and go out and find the right audience.
Yeah, well, social is a big way to speak, and people think of social as more posting. But if you're out there doing lives, and it's free, it doesn't cost you anything. So that's a great way to start. And then interview other people. You don't have to have your own podcast to start. You can just do interview swaps on social media, and it makes it more interesting. Another way is in your local community. There's so many places in your community where you can speak, whether it's your chamber of commerce or whether it's an association that you care about, or whether it's, contacts that you've had from before. Go in your community and speak there. And then networking, oh my gosh, there's so many places to network online and in person. So that is a great way, but people they don't know how to network. They're really bad at it.
So I try to do it in a way with my clients for podcasts where what I do is have them co-host with me and we get the right ideal customer and client for them online and they don't know what to do next. And I'm like, come on now. Then I try to help them in that process. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you just want to get on the next call. You want to get them to the next thing, the next meeting, not give all of it away, really build a relationship, build that relationship, give, and then get on the next call. And a lot of times we trade information in a networking event. Well, we'll contact and we never do the follow-up. You know how many events I've been to where literally I had to constantly follow up to everybody because they never follow up. They say, oh, I went to this network, I went to this event, spent X amount of dollars, and yet I had 60 or 70 leads and I never did anything.
Yeah, people don't want to risk rejection. So a lot of people don't follow up, or they just don't have the best way to do it. There's an art to following up. There's an art to networking. And one of the big things I work on with clients is, how do you have that 1 minute pitch? So pitch isn't a great word. It's, but everybody knows what that means, right? How do you entice people, whether you're in person and you have 20 seconds, or you're on a networking call in a group and you have 60 seconds? How do you put everything you need to that's irresistible in that 60 seconds?
All right. Best, I know you're giving an offer to our listeners and viewers right now. What is that offer?
Yeah, the offer is a hot or not speaker eval, where you can bring any part of your talk, your pitch, your storytelling, your offer, and we will make it sizzling hot.
And where's the best place people go to get that offer?
You can go to speakwithmarla.com.
Thanks again, Marla. This is great information and really gets me going because, again, I learned this from so many people talking about speaking on stage. It's just taking that action item. If my calendar wasn't booked so much, I would probably leave my studio where I get to talk to everyone anytime. But ultimately, I got to get Joe out and do that at one point, especially on the weekends. Maybe that's when I can do it. Do some networking then. If that's
absolutely, you got to fit it all in.
Fit it all
Prioritize,
in.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Marla. Appreciate it. You're
Thanks so much.
listening